Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a new episode of Great Books in 10 Minutes. By the end of this video, you will learn everything about the Oresteia trilogy by Aeschylus. The Oresteia, a renowned ancient Greek tragic trilogy, was composed by the celebrated playwright Aeschylus. This captivating work consists of 3 plays: Agamemnon, the Libation Bearers, and the Furies or the Eumenides. Through these interconnected dramas, Aeschylus masterfully explores the interplay between the Greek gods and the mortal characters, and how their actions and decisions shape the complex events and disputes that unfold. Beyond the 3 tragedies, the original Oresteia also included a concluding satire play titled Proteus. Regrettably, all but a single line of this supplementary work have been lost to time, leaving us with only a tantalizing glimpse of Aeschylus's complete artistic vision for this epic dramatic presentation. Through its masterful blend of divine intervention and human drama, this trilogy stands as a cornerstone of ancient Greek literature, providing a captivating and thought-provoking exploration of the human condition, the role of the gods, and the evolution of societal justice. Its enduring impact continues to resonate with audiences and scholars alike, making it a vital component of our understanding of the rich cultural legacy of classical antiquity. The main themes of the Oresteia are revenge, justice, divine influence, mortality, power, greed, law and order, and societal transitions. The first play opens at the ancestral palace of Agamemnon in Mycenae. A watchman, weary from his long vigil, eagerly awaits a signal fire that will announce the fall of Troy. He expresses his hope that this beacon will bring joy and song to the palace, signaling the return of King Agamemnon. The watchman describes his restless nights, unable to sleep due to the ever-present fear that weighs upon the household. He longs for the sweet respite of slumber, but is kept awake by the weight of his duty and the troubles that haunt the royal household. Suddenly, the watchman sees the long-awaited signal fire blazing in the distance. He joyfully proclaims the news, knowing that it will be met with celebration by Queen Clytemnestra and the people of Mycenae. He prepares to share the good tidings and rally the household in welcoming Agamemnon's triumphant return. The chorus of old men of Mycenae enters, reflecting on the 10 long years since the mighty Greek army led by the 2 brothers Agamemnon and Menelaus set sail for Troy to reclaim Helen, the wife of Menelaus, who was stolen by Paris. The chorus laments the hardships and losses suffered by the Greek forces during the prolonged war. They then describe how Zeus spurred the 2 brothers to wage war against Troy. At this moment, the chorus turns their attention to Queen Clytemnestra, who has kindled altars and sacrificial fires throughout the city, signaling the arrival of joyous news. They implore her to share the information that has prompted this celebratory display, eager to have their anxious hearts healed. The chorus recounts the omen of the 2 eagles seen by a warrior prophet before the Greek fleet set sail. The omen foretold the eventual fall of Troy, but also warned of the wrath of the goddess Artemis, who was angered by the sacrifice of an innocent maiden required to secure the winds for the fleet's departure. The elders then reflect on the power of Zeus and the wisdom that can be gained through suffering. They describe how their king, Agamemnon, was forced to make the agonizing choice to sacrifice his own daughter, Iphigenia, in order to appease the gods and secure the winds needed for the fleet to reach Troy. Iphigenia's tragic fate weighs heavily on the chorus, who pray for a favorable resolution to the dark events unfolding in the house of their king. Clytemnestra, the queen, emerges from the altars and approaches the chorus. The chorus expresses reverence for her, acknowledging her position as the ruler's consort in his absence. Clytemnestra then shares joyful news. The city of Troy has been captured by the Grecian forces. The chorus reacts with disbelief, questioning the certainty of this information. Clytemnestra reassures the chorus, stating that the news is indeed true. She describes the scene in Troy, with the victorious Greeks reveling in their triumph while the captives mourn their losses. Clytemnestra cautions the Greeks to respect the gods of Troy, lest they incur divine retribution. She expresses her hope that the gods will continue to smile upon the Greek forces, ensuring their safe return home. The chorus erupts in a hymn of praise to Zeus, the Lord of Victory, for delivering Troy into the hands of the Greeks. They acknowledge the long-standing feud between the house of their king and Paris, which has now culminated in the destruction of Troy. The chorus reflects on the notion that the gods do not turn a blind eye to the transgressions of the wicked. They assert that the downfall of the sinner is orchestrated by the divine, and that the consequences of one's actions often echo through the generations. The chorus expresses a desire for blessings that bring no woe, and warns against the pursuit of ill-gotten gains or excessive pride, which can lead to a fall from grace. They then delve into the tragic tale of Paris and Helen, whose illicit affair has brought about the downfall of Troy. They lament the sorrow and loss experienced by Menelaus, the rightful husband, who must now confront the absence of his wife and the haunting memories of their shared past. The chorus expands its focus to the broader impact of the war, acknowledging the grief and suffering felt by the families of the fallen Greek warriors. They describe the anguish of receiving the meager remains of their loved ones, a painful testament to the harsh realities of war. They reveal that they sense a growing resentment among the citizens towards their ruling class, as they mourn the loss of their own kin and question the justification for the war. However, the chorus cautions against such sentiment, warning that the gods' retribution will eventually catch up to those who have committed grave sins. They express a cautious optimism, acknowledging the swiftly spreading news of Troy's fall. Yet they remain wary, unwilling to fully embrace the joyful tidings until they can confirm the truth of the matter. The chorus emphasizes the need to discern fact from fiction, as rumors can often be misleading, especially when it comes to matters of such great significance. Next, a herald arrives and joyfully proclaims his return to the land of Argos after many long years. He expresses gratitude to the gods, particularly Zeus and Apollo, for safely guiding the Greek forces and returning them home. The herald acknowledges the royal halls and shrines of Argos, eagerly awaiting the arrival of their king, Agamemnon, who has conquered the city of Troy. The herald continues with describing Agamemnon's triumphant return as a beacon of light emerging from darkness. He praises the king for his mighty deeds, having brought down the towers of Troy with the aid of Zeus. The herald declares that Agamemnon's accomplishments have outweighed any misfortunes that may have befallen the Greek forces during the war. He then further extols Agamemnon's victory, stating that the king has received the highest honor among all who walk the earth. The herald contrasts Agamemnon's just triumph with the downfall of Paris and the city of Troy, whose guilt and lust have led to their destruction and the suffering of their people. The herald reflects on the hardships endured by the Greek forces during their long campaign, describing the physical and environmental challenges they faced. However, he emphasizes that the pains of the past have now been overcome, and the surviving soldiers can revel in the joy of their ultimate victory. The herald concludes by urging the people of Argos to celebrate the triumph of the Greek army, which has successfully conquered Troy and brought back the spoils of war, as a shining testament to the power of Zeus and the city's leaders. He encourages the chorus to convey this joyous news to those within the city, including Clytemnestra, the queen. At this moment, Clytemnestra re-enters the scene, sharing her elation at the news of Troy's fall. She recounts how she had initially been skeptical of the beacon's message, but then proceeded to make sacrifices at the shrines and spread the joyful tidings throughout the city. Clytemnestra now eagerly awaits the return of her husband, King Agamemnon, expressing her desire to welcome him home with the honor befitting a triumphant ruler. Clytemnestra continues, declaring that no day could be brighter for a woman than the one where she can fling open the palace doors to greet her lord, who has returned safely from the war. She vows to be a faithful and trustworthy wife, just as she had been during Agamemnon's long absence, and promises to maintain the household exactly as he had left it, without any misdeed or dishonor on her part. The chorus responds, acknowledging Clytemnestra's eloquent words, but suggests that they ought to be interpreted with caution. The chorus then turns to the herald, inquiring about the fate of Menelaus, Agamemnon's brother, who had also departed for Troy. The herald's response is evasive, hinting at misfortunes that have befallen the Greek forces. The herald explains that he does not wish to mar the joyous occasion with tales of woe. He states that it would be unwise to burden the people with news of the hardships and losses suffered by the Greek army during their return voyage. The herald only briefly mentions the storms and shipwrecks that decimated the fleet, yet he assures the chorus that his own ship managed to safely make it back to Argos. The herald continues his account, describing the harrowing journey home and the anguish of the surviving soldiers, who fear that their comrades have perished. He expresses hope that Menelaus may still be alive, and if so, he will surely make his way back to Argos. The herald concludes his narrative, leaving the final fate of Menelaus uncertain. The chorus reflects on the disastrous consequences that Helen's abduction has brought upon Troy and the entire Greek expedition. They lament the suffering and death that resulted from her elopement with Paris, acknowledging that Zeus has meted out divine retribution for the violation of hospitality and the household's honor. The chorus draws a parallel between Helen and a lion cub, which is initially welcomed and cared for within a household, only to later turn against its benefactors and wreak havoc. Similarly, Helen's beauty and charm had initially captivated Paris and the Trojans, but ultimately led to their downfall and destruction. The chorus delves deeper into the notion that true prosperity and happiness are not the sources of subsequent misfortune, as commonly believed. Rather, they assert that it is impious deeds and old sins that breed new curses and calamities, which then afflict the perpetrators and their descendants. They then turn their attention to the returning king, Agamemnon, expressing a cautious welcome. They acknowledge their previous doubts about Agamemnon's leadership and the wisdom of the expedition, but now offer their gratitude and respect for his victory. However, they advise the king to carefully discern the loyalty of his subjects, for not all may have remained faithful during his long absence. At this moment, Agamemnon arrives, accompanied by Cassandra, and begins by greeting the gods who have aided him in returning home victoriously from Troy. He acknowledges that the gods have meted out justice and punished the people of Troy for their transgressions. Agamemnon also expresses gratitude to the Argive forces who fought bravely and enabled the conquest of the city. Clytemnestra emerges and warmly welcomes her husband Agamemnon home. She recounts the anguish she endured during his long absence. Clytemnestra also explains her decision to send their son, Orestes, to a trusted friend in Phocis for safekeeping, fearing potential unrest at home. Clytemnestra continues her effusive welcome, comparing Agamemnon's return to various life-sustaining forces, such as a watchdog protecting a flock, a ship's anchor in a storm, and a refreshing spring for a thirsty traveler. She implores him to step down from his chariot and enter their home, where she has prepared a lavish welcome. Agamemnon responds, acknowledging Clytemnestra's warm greeting but advising her not to excessively praise him or prostrate herself before him like an Eastern monarch. He expresses discomfort with the idea of walking on the elaborate purple tapestries laid out for his arrival, as he believes such displays of grandeur should be reserved for the gods, not mortals. Clytemnestra persists, attempting to persuade Agamemnon to accept the honors she has prepared for him. Agamemnon remains firm in his refusal, citing his concern over the potential for envy and criticism from the people. Clytemnestra insists that he should not fear such things, but Agamemnon maintains his position, stating that warfare is not a woman's domain. Conceding to Agamemnon's wishes, Clytemnestra instructs a servant to remove the king's sandals so that he may walk upon the purple tapestries. Agamemnon relents, acknowledging that he must now acquiesce to his wife's desires. He also directs the servants to treat the captive Cassandra, who has accompanied him, with kindness and respect. Clytemnestra continues her lavish praise of Agamemnon, comparing his return to the rejuvenating warmth of the sun and the cooling breeze that brings relief from the summer heat. She expresses her gratitude to the gods for his safe return and prays that Zeus will fulfill her wishes, whatever they may be. The chorus expresses a sense of foreboding and unease, as if a dark vision or premonition weighs heavily on their hearts. They acknowledge that their confidence has been shaken, and they can no longer easily dismiss the ominous feelings that have taken root within them. The chorus reflects on the joyful return of the Greek fleet to their homeland, yet they cannot shake the boding song that seems to echo in their minds, warning them of some impending doom. The chorus delves deeper into this sense of unease, acknowledging that mortals often strive for complete and undiminished prosperity, only to have that very abundance lead to their downfall. They liken this to a sailor who, fearing the ship might sink, must jettison part of the cargo to save the vessel. The chorus suggests that sometimes it is wiser to willingly forfeit a portion of one's wealth or good fortune to avoid a greater calamity. Clytemnestra returns and commands Cassandra to come inside the palace, offering her the opportunity to share in the ritual cleansing and take her place among the other household slaves. Cassandra, however, remains defiant and unresponsive, prompting Clytemnestra to grow impatient and remind her that even the great hero Heracles was once forced into servitude. The chorus attempts to persuade Cassandra to obey Clytemnestra's commands, acknowledging that she is now trapped within the cruel fate that has befallen her. They suggest that it would be best for her to comply, even though they recognize that she may not fully understand or heed their words. Clytemnestra expresses frustration at Cassandra's unresponsiveness, attributing it to the deep trauma and anguish she has experienced from witnessing the downfall of Troy. Recognizing Cassandra's distress, Clytemnestra decides to leave her be, rather than continue to press the issue. The chorus empathizes with Cassandra's plight and urges her to come down from the chariot and accept her servitude, acknowledging that this is the only path available to her now. Cassandra begins to utter prophetic laments, speaking of the bloodshed and violence that has plagued the house of Agamemnon. She evokes vivid images of the murder of children and the tainted floor stained with the blood of kinsmen. The chorus struggles to make sense of her dark and cryptic pronouncements. Cassandra's prophecies continue as she describes the treacherous plot being hatched against Agamemnon, her own master. She warns of the impending slaughter, with Clytemnestra wielding the deadly blow, aided by an unseen accomplice. The chorus is deeply unsettled by the grim nature of Cassandra's visions. Cassandra's prophecies intensify as she envisions Agamemnon being trapped and gored by his own mate, like a proud bull betrayed by his deceptive partner. The chorus is overwhelmed by the disturbing and enigmatic nature of Cassandra's words, recognizing the impending tragedy but unable to fully comprehend the details. The chorus acknowledges the haunting, melodious quality of Cassandra's lamentations, likening them to the sorrowful song of the nightingale. They express their sympathy for the torment she endures, even as they struggle to interpret the full meaning of her prophetic utterances. Cassandra continues her mournful cries, lamenting the fall of her beloved city of Troy and the futility of the sacrifices made to the gods in a failed attempt to protect it. She recognizes that her own fate is now intertwined with the doom that has befallen her people. Cassandra declares that she will no longer speak in riddles, but will instead make her prophecies clear and unambiguous. She describes the enduring curse that haunts Agamemnon's family, the cycle of violence and retribution that has plagued the royal house. The chorus is left shaken, bearing witness to the tragic fate that Cassandra foresees unfolding. Cassandra discloses that her extraordinary gift was granted by the god Apollo, driven by his desire for her affection. However, in a cruel twist of fate, he cursed her so that her prophecies would remain incomprehensible to all. Cassandra is gripped by a prophetic vision. She warns of the cowardly lion who plots revenge and the treacherous dog-like woman who will slay her master, Agamemnon, upon his return. The chorus recognizes Cassandra's prophetic reference to Thyestes' cannibalistic feast, but is unsure of the rest. Cassandra confirms that they will witness Agamemnon's doom, though the chorus prays that such a fate may be averted. Cassandra mourns for her fate, cursing the prophetic gifts that have brought her only scorn and now led her to this doomed end. She accepts her impending death, acknowledging that it will be avenged by her own kin in the future. Cassandra approaches the palace door with bravery, though the chorus expresses concern for her unafraid acceptance of her doom. She acknowledges that there is no escape from her fate and that the time has come. Cassandra makes one final plea, asking that those who seek vengeance for their kindred's death also seek revenge for her, a defenseless slave. She reflects on the fleeting nature of human existence and then resolutely enters the palace to meet her end. The chorus reflects on the fleeting nature of human satisfaction and prosperity, noting that even those who have achieved greatness and conquest, like their lord Agamemnon, are not immune to the possibility of a tragic downfall. They caution that the cries of past bloodshed may demand further retribution, warning that Agamemnon's boasting of his triumph may be short-lived. Suddenly, a cry of mortal agony is heard from within the palace, and the chorus members debate how to respond. Some suggest loudly calling for aid from loyal Argives, while others propose taking immediate action to confront the perpetrators and uncover the bloody deed. The chorus members express uncertainty about the situation, acknowledging that once a person is slain, there is no way to restore their life. The chorus members continue their discussion, with some arguing that it would be better to die than to submit to the house defilers and their tyrannical sway. Others caution against drawing conclusions too hastily, advising that they should wait to witness the events unfolding before making a decision. The chorus leader expresses a desire to know the truth of the matter, reflecting the diverse perspectives and unease among the group. Suddenly the scene opens, revealing the bodies of Agamemnon and Cassandra, with Clytemnestra standing over them. Clytemnestra proudly declares that she has carried out her long-planned revenge against her husband, trapping and slaying him as one would catch a fish in a net. She revels in the deed, seeing it as just retribution for the sacrificing of their daughter. The chorus expresses shock and horror at Clytemnestra's bold proclamation, asking what deadly spirit has possessed her to commit this heinous act against her own husband, the king. They condemn her as accursed and forlorn, destined to face the hatred and scorn of the people. Clytemnestra defends her actions, arguing that the chorus had remained silent when Agamemnon sacrificed their daughter, but now condemns her for avenging that crime. She declares her willingness to submit to the people's judgment, confident that if the gods are on her side, she will prevail. Clytemnestra continues her defiant justification, revealing that she has a new lover, Aeschylus, who will now share her throne and provide her protection. She mocks Agamemnon's infidelities with the captive seer Cassandra, whom she has also slain. The chorus laments the tragic fate of Agamemnon, the once gracious king, who has now been slain by his own wife. They draw parallels to the origins of the Trojan War, regretting that the blossom of Helen's sinful actions has borne such bitter and bloody fruit. They then liken Clytemnestra to a grim raven-like demon, exulting over the crime she has committed. Clytemnestra acknowledges the accuracy of their comparison, seeing the bloodlust and vengeance that has long plagued her family's history. Clytemnestra argues that she is not the true murderer, but rather the avenging Fury that has been sent to punish Agamemnon for his own crimes, particularly the sacrificing of their daughter Iphigenia. She sees her actions as just retribution. The chorus bemoans the ruination of the royal household, feeling powerless to prevent the unfolding tragedy. They question who will now perform the proper burial rites for the fallen king, lamenting that Clytemnestra, his murderer, is the one who will oversee his interment. Clytemnestra declares that she alone will see to Agamemnon's burial, and that his daughter will be the one to greet him in the afterlife. The chorus acknowledges the endless cycle of sin and vengeance that plagues the royal house, asserting that justice will eventually be served. Clytemnestra appeals to the powers that govern her family's destiny, praying that the curse and bloodlust that has long afflicted her household will now be lifted by her final act of violence. She expresses her hope that the cycle of murder will finally be broken. Next, Aegisthus, Clytemnestra's lover and accomplice, enters, hailing the dawn of his rightful vengeance. He boasts of his role in orchestrating the murder of Agamemnon, recounting the long-standing feud between their families and how his father was wronged by Agamemnon's father. Aegisthus claims he has now taken his just revenge, finally restoring justice to his lineage. The chorus responds with scorn, warning Aegisthus that his arrogance and evil deeds will not go unpunished, and that the people's wrath will eventually be turned against him. Aegisthus dismisses their threats, asserting his power and authority over the commoners, and threatening to subdue them with harsh measures if they dare to defy him. The chorus continues to taunt Aegisthus, calling him a cowardly man who hid behind Clytemnestra's skirts to carry out the murder, rather than facing Agamemnon himself. Aegisthus angrily retorts, warning the chorus that their defiant words will soon turn to tears, and that he will swiftly bring them to heel under his tyrannical rule. Aegisthus boasts of using Clytemnestra's cunning to aid in the plot, claiming that his own involvement was limited due to suspicions against him. He declares his intention to rule the citizens with an iron fist, threatening to imprison and starve any who dare to resist his authority. The chorus defiantly calls for the return of Orestes, Agamemnon's son, to avenge his father's murder. Clytemnestra intervenes, calling for an end to the bloodshed and violence. She advises the chorus to depart in peace rather than provoking further retaliation. Aegisthus angrily denounces the chorus for their insolence, but Clytemnestra dismisses his concerns, asserting that she and Aegisthus will now rule the palace without hindrance. The play concludes on this ominous note, as the cycle of violence and retribution appears to continue. The second play opens at the tomb of Agamemnon in Mycenae. Orestes, the son of Agamemnon, stands before the tomb and addresses Hermes, the god of the underworld, beseeching him to aid in his return from exile and the avenging of his father's murder. Orestes brings offerings to the grave, including locks of his own hair, as a sign of mourning and dedication. A bit later, the chorus of women adorned in mourning garb enters carrying libations to be offered at Agamemnon's tomb. They lament the sorrows that have befallen their royal house, recounting the ominous dreams and divine portents that foretold the wrath of the dead against their slayers. The chorus further expresses the grief and turmoil that has consumed the palace, with the once mighty reputation of the house now diminished and a sense of dread and foreboding pervading the household. They speak of the stain of blood that cannot be washed away and the lingering presence of the goddess of mischief, who brings ruin upon the sinners. The ensemble continues its lament, describing the irreversible nature of the crime committed and the inability to cleanse the land of the spilled blood. They draw parallels between the fate of Troy and their own, mourning the loss of freedom and the need to submit to the will of their new masters while concealing their inner turmoil and bitterness. Electra, the daughter of Agamemnon, joins the chorus and questions how she should offer the libations to her father's grave. Torn between revealing the truth that the offerings come from her mother, the murderer, or concealing it and invoking a curse upon the perpetrators. She asks the chorus for counsel, acknowledging their shared grief and hatred. The chorus advises Electra to speak solemn words as she pours the libations, invoking the names of those who loved Agamemnon, including Electra herself and any others who remain loyal to his memory. Electra follows the chorus's guidance, addressing Hermes and the underworld deities, calling upon her father to hear her prayer and restore his children to their rightful place in the household. while also praying for the downfall of their enemies. Electra continues her prayer, asking for justice to prevail and for the slayers to be punished in turn as she pours the libations onto the grave. She entreats the gods and the earth to aid in her quest for vengeance. The chorus then leads a mourning dirge lamenting Agamemnon's fate and calling for a champion to arise and deliver their home, someone with the might of Ares to bend the bow and slay their foes. Electra notices a lock of hair on the tomb, and the ensemble questions whether it could be a secret offering from Orestes, who remains in exile. Electra is filled with both hope and sorrow, torn between the possibility of her brother's return and the realization that he may never dare to come home. Electra examines the lock of hair, comparing it to her own and those of her family, and expressing her anguish over the uncertainty of its origin. She hopes that it could be a sign from Orestes, but she fears it may be a cruel taunt from her mother, the murderous queen. Electra's soul is racked with the turmoil of conflicting emotions as she wavers between despair and the faint glimmer of hope for the restoration of her family's fortunes. At this moment, Orestes suddenly approaches Electra and reveals his true identity to her, explaining that he is the one she has been longing for, her brother Orestes. At first, Electra is skeptical, but Orestes provides compelling evidence, including the lock of hair he had placed on their father's tomb and the robe she had woven. Electra is overjoyed to be reunited with her beloved brother, and they pledge to work together to reclaim their father's halls and avenge his murder. Orestes and Electra pray to Zeus, asking for the divine intervention to aid them in their quest for justice. They wail their status as orphans, stripped of their home and inheritance, and plead with the gods to not abandon the children of the great Agamemnon. The chorus warns them to be cautious, as their words could be overheard by their enemies. Orestes declares his unwavering resolve to carry out the vengeance commanded by the oracle of Apollo. He recounts the dire warnings the god had issued, threatening him with horrific consequences if he failed to punish those who had slain his father. Orestes sees this as a sacred duty, driven not only by the divine mandate, but also by his own personal grief and the desire to restore his family's honor and wealth. The chorus invokes the mighty fates, calling upon them to grant justice to those who have been wronged. They echo the sentiment that those who have taken up the sword must perish by the sword, a timeless principle of retribution. Orestes and Electra join the chorus in mourning the shameful manner in which their father was killed and buried, vowing to avenge his dishonor. The brother and sister express their grief over the tragedy that has befallen their family, wishing that Agamemnon had met a glorious death in battle rather than being slain in his own home. The ensemble acknowledges the depth of their sorrow, but reminds them that the gods may still turn their fortunes around and restore their rightful place in the royal household. Orestes and Electra, fervently invoking the underworld gods, plead for assistance in their quest for vengeance. Recalling their father's brutal murder, they implore his spirit to rise up in support of their cause, vowing to honor him with proper rites once justice is served. The chorus echoes their impassioned plea, acknowledging the relentless cycle of blood and retribution that shadows the royal house, expressing both fear and awe at the siblings' bold appeal to the forces of the underworld. Electra makes a final heartfelt plea to her father's ghost, likening the children to the buoyant corks that keep a submerged net afloat, preserving his memory and legacy. She implores him to heed their cries and lend his strength to their cause. The chorus concludes by urging Orestes and Electra to take hold of their fortunes and act upon their resolute intentions. Orestes ponders the meaning behind Clytemnestra's decision to send offerings to Agamemnon's tomb, wondering if it is a sign of remorse or merely a futile attempt to atone for her crime. The chorus reveals that the queen had a disturbing dream, in which she gave birth to a serpent that then suckled her breast and drew blood, causing her to cry out in alarm. Orestes interprets the dream as a foreboding sign, signifying that he, like the serpent, will rise up to avenge his father's murder. The young prince then invokes the powers of the earth and his father's grave, asking them to grant fulfillment to Clytemnestra's ominous dream. He further elaborates on his interpretation, seeing himself as the serpent that will slay the mother who betrayed and killed his father. Next, Orestes outlines his plan to infiltrate the palace, disguised as a stranger, and confront his mother's lover and the co-conspirator in Agamemnon's murder, Aeschylus, before striking him down with his sword. He then urges Electra to prepare the household for the impending retribution. The chorus reflects on the extraordinary and fearsome things that exist in the world, but notes that the most dreadful of all is the passionate, unrestrained nature within the human soul. They recount tales of famous women driven by love, hate, and despair who have committed heinous acts. The chorus expresses the belief that these crimes, no matter how ancient, cannot be forgotten or overlooked, and that justice and fate will eventually exact their due retribution. Orestes and his friend, disguised as travelers, arrive at the palace gates and knock, calling for someone to open the doors. A slave emerges and questions their identity and purpose, to which Orestes responds that they have important news to deliver to those in authority within the household, be it the queen or a man of standing. He urges the slave to summon someone of consequence, as it is improper for a man to speak to a servant when a master is present. Clytemnestra emerges from the palace and warmly welcomes the two strangers, offering them the hospitality of the household, including a warm bath, comfortable accommodations, and courteous attention. Orestes, still in disguise, then reveals the news he has brought, that Orestes, Clytemnestra's own son, has died. Clytemnestra is devastated, mourning the loss of the one who was meant to avenge the wrongs done to their family and restore the household's fortunes. On the other side, the chorus eagerly awaits the news of Orestes' victory, invoking the earth and the tomb of Agamemnon to aid in the impending retribution. They are then joined by the nurse Celyssa, who has been sent by Clytemnestra to summon Aeschylus, unaware of the true nature of the visitor's intent. Sensing the turning of the tide, the chorus urges Celyssa to convey the news to Aeschylus in a manner that will lull him into a false sense of security, rather than warning him of the danger. The chorus questions Celyssa about the instructions Clytemnestra has given regarding Aeschylus' arrival, and the nurse reveals that Clytemnestra has asked her lover to bring armed guards with him. The chorus, however, advises Celyssa to tell the man to come alone, as the news is good and there is no need for him to be wary. Celyssa, who is upset over the death of Orestes, agrees to follow the chorus's guidance, hoping that the gods will turn the tide in their favor. The ensemble then fervently prays to Zeus, beseeching the king of the gods to aid Orestes in his righteous quest for vengeance and the restoration of his rightful place in the household. They invoke the image of Orestes as a young foal harnessed to the chariot of destiny, urging Zeus to guide him safely to the finish line. The chorus also calls upon the gods who dwell within the palace to lend their power to the endeavor, so that the cycle of bloodshed may finally be broken and the family's honor and freedom be reclaimed. They express hope that Hermes, the messenger of the gods, will aid in revealing the truth and guiding the course of events. Next, Aeschylus enters, having heard the rumors of Orestes' death. He questions the chorus, seeking to verify the truth of this news, as he is wary of being deceived. The ensemble, however, advises him to go and question the strangers himself, as first-hand accounts are more reliable than second-hand reports. A sudden cry is heard from within the palace, prompting the chorus to speculate that the deed has been carried out. A slave then rushes out, wailing the death of Aeschylus and calling for aid, but realizing that it is too late. The slave also suggests that Clytemnestra, the queen, may be in danger as well. Clytemnestra emerges, questioning the commotion. Orestes then confronts her, declaring that he will slay her as he did Aeschylus, her lover. Clytemnestra pleads with Orestes, reminding him of the nurturing care she gave him as a child. But Orestes is resolute, arguing that she must face the consequences of her actions in murdering his father Agamemnon. Orestes is torn as his mother continues to appeal to him, invoking their familial bond. Pylades, Orestes' companion, reminds him of the divine command he received to avenge his father's death, urging him to choose the wrath of the gods over the pleas of his mother. Ultimately, Orestes decides to follow through with the deed, driving Clytemnestra before him to slay her alongside Aegisthus. The chorus laments the double tragedy of the deaths, but acknowledges that Orestes, driven by fate, has now completed the cycle of vengeance that has plagued the royal house. They celebrate the restoration of the rightful heir to the throne and the liberation of the household from the corrupt rule of Clytemnestra and her lover. The ensemble expresses hope that justice and the gods will now guide the family towards a brighter future, cleansing the palace of its past sins and ushering in a new era of prosperity and freedom. Orestes stands over the bodies of Aegisthus and Clytemnestra, holding the sword and robe used to slay his father, Agamemnon. Orestes mourns the twofold tyranny that has plagued his household, and he calls upon the sun god to witness the justice of his actions in killing his mother, who plotted against his father. The young prince grapples with the conflicted emotions of his deed, expressing both triumph and anguish. He then acknowledges that the end he faces is uncertain, as his mind is now overcome by madness. He declares that he rightfully slew his mother, who had murdered his father, and that the oracle of Apollo had foretold this act. Orestes now seeks refuge at the shrine of Apollo, begging the Argives to bear witness to the fateful circumstances that have led him to this point. He weeps that he must depart as a banished wanderer. At the end of the second play, the chorus expresses empathy for Orestes, acknowledging the great victory he has achieved in vanquishing the serpents' heads. However, they recognize that the storm of divine woe continues to ravage the royal house, with this latest act serving as the third devastating blow. The ensemble wonders anxiously where the winds of doom will blow next, as the family's tragic cycle remains unbroken. The third play starts at the Temple of Apollo at Delphi. A priestess who serves as the oracle begins her prayer by invoking deities such as Zeus, Athena, Apollo, and Poseidon, imploring them that her entrance into the sacred chair be fruitful in response. Following that, the oracle emerges from the temple in great fear, her strength unstrung and her feet failing. She describes what she has seen inside the inner sanctum, a man crouching at the central altar, holding a drawn sword and wielding an olive branch wrapped in white wool. Surrounding him on the altar steps is a grisly band of women, not like women at all, but rather monstrous, Gorgon-like creatures. The priestess is horrified by the sight and unsure of the origins of this group. She leaves the matter in the hands of the mighty Apollo, the lord of the shrine, who is both a healer and a prophet, entreating him to cleanse his own temple. Next, the scene opens, revealing the interior of the temple. Orestes clings to the central altar, while the Furies lie slumbering nearby. Apollo and Hermes emerge from the innermost shrine. Apollo declares that he will never abandon Orestes, but will guard him and oppose his enemies, the grim, aged, and unforgiving Furies, who are unholy, hateful creatures. Apollo urges the young prince to flee with haste to the city of goddess Athena, where he will find refuge and justice for his mother's killing, which Apollo himself had commanded. The ghost of Clytemnestra appears, wailing that her murderer remains unpunished. She cries out to the slumbering Furies, angry that they have failed to avenge her death at the hands of her own son, Orestes. She taunts them for being lulled to sleep, allowing Orestes to escape their grasp. The Furies begin to stir and mutter in their sleep, roused by the dead queen's cries. She continues to berate them, urging them to awaken and pursue her son, Orestes. The Furies let out confused cries, still caught in the throes of slumber. Clytemnestra's ghost bemoans that, even in their dreams, the Furies only chase their prey, and do not truly pursue her avenger. She exhorts them to cast off their lethargy, to be inflamed with wrath, and to hound Orestes relentlessly. One of the Furies awakes and rouses the others, calling on them to cast off their sleep and ensure that the previous portents were not false. The chorus of Furies complain that they have toiled in vain, for Orestes has slipped from their grasp, and they accuse Apollo of robbing them of their rightful prey. Next, Apollo re-enters and commands the Furies to depart from his temple, threatening them with his deadly arrows if they do not leave. He tells them that their haunt should be where men commit deeds of violence and bloodshed, not the sacred shrines. The Furies argue with Apollo, claiming that he is the primary cause of Orestes' crime, since his oracle had commanded the son to slay his own mother. Apollo retorts that he had only urged Orestes to avenge his father's murder, not the killing of his mother. Apollo asserts that the bond of marriage takes precedence over the ties of kinship, and therefore the Furies are unjust in hounding Orestes for his mother's murder, while being more lenient towards those who slay their spouses. He declares that Athena will uphold the right in this matter. The scene shifts to the Acropolis in Athens, where Orestes is seen clinging to the statue of Athena. He appeals to the goddess to receive him, as he has come by Apollo's command, no longer a fresh murderer, but one whose guilt has faded through his wanderings. At this moment, the chorus of Furies enter, tracking Orestes by the scent of the blood he has shed. They vow that his mother's blood, once spilled upon the earth, can never be erased, and they will relentlessly pursue him, demanding that he pay the ultimate price for his matricide. They declare that no one who has wronged the gods, their kin, or their friends can escape the judgment of the underworld. Orestes clings to the statue of Athena, declaring that he has been cleansed of the stain of his mother's murder through rituals performed at Apollo's shrine. He calls out to Athena, asking her to come and champion his cause, promising that he and his people of Argos will forever be loyal to her. The chorus of Furies responds, declaring that neither Apollo nor Athena's strength can save Orestes from perishing and becoming a bloodless, shadowy prey of their powers. They chant a binding spell, invoking their role as ministers of justice, punishing those who have wronged the dead. They bemoan that Apollo has dishonored them by taking Orestes, a rightful victim, from their grasp. The Furies continue their chant, describing their relentless pursuit of those who have committed kinslaying. They declare that no one can escape their wrath, for they are the queens of vengeance, lighting their way with torches from the sunless regions to hunt down the living and the dead who have shed the blood of kin. The Furies further expound upon their role, stating that they dwell in utter darkness, far from the gods, but that their power is inviolable. They strike fear into the hearts of all who hear of the ordinances and laws that have been given to them by fate itself. They assert that none can wrong their office, for they are bound to this task for eternity. Athena suddenly appears, having heard the clamor of the Furies' cries. She expresses wonder at their monstrous form, yet declares it unjust to chide them. The Furies identify themselves as the children of eternal night, the Furies of the underworld. Athena acknowledges their lineage and asks them to clearly state their rights. The Furies explain that they chase down the murderers of men, and Athena asks where such a killer can find respite. The Furies respond that he can find no joy, for they are relentless in their pursuit. Athena notes that two sides have been presented, and the Furies say that Orestes will not swear an oath to challenge them. Athena suggests that the form of justice, not just its deed, must be considered. Athena turns to Orestes and asks him to plead his case, speaking of his lineage and his woes. Orestes declares that he is not guilty, having undergone the proper rituals of purification. He recounts how his father, Agamemnon, was treacherously slain by his mother, and how he in turn killed her to avenge his father. He asks Athena to judge whether his actions were right or wrong. Athena acknowledges the gravity of the matter, stating that she is not qualified to judge issues of murder and the wrath that follows. However, since Orestes has come to her shrine with due rites performed, she will not condemn him. Recognizing the Furies' rightful claims as well, Athena declares that she will choose impartial judges to hear the case and render a verdict, calling upon both sides to present their evidence and arguments. The chorus of Furies complains that if Orestes' cause prevails, the ancient laws will be undone. They fear that if the matricide goes unpunished, it will set a dangerous precedent, and parents will live in dread of their children's violence. They declare that without their watchful gaze and wrath, death will reign unchecked. The Furies warn that those who no longer revere justice and the powers of the underworld will face the inevitable consequences of their actions. The chorus of Furies continues its chant, proclaiming that there is a throne that cannot be overthrown, the throne of fear, which searches the inner soul of man. They declare that wisdom is born of pain, and that from this day forward, none will worship right as they have in the past. The chorus advises that the middle way, untouched by wantonness or impiety, is the path dearest to the gods and will lead to true well-being. Athena returns accompanied by 12 Athenian citizens and calls for silence to allow the judges to hear the case. Apollo also approaches, declaring that he has come as a witness, since Orestes is his suppliant and has been cleansed by him of murder. Athena invites the chorus to present their case first. The chorus questions Orestes about his deed, and he openly admits to killing his mother. The chorus declares this as the first of 3 decisive falls, but Orestes refutes the notion of a final defeat. The chorus presses him to explain the circumstances that led him to commit the matricide, and Orestes replies that he was compelled by the oracles of Apollo, who is now present to attest to this. Orestes appeals to Apollo to affirm the justness of his deed, and Apollo declares that he spoke the oracle's commands on behalf of Zeus, the father of the Olympian gods. The Furies challenge Apollo's stance, questioning how the god can condone a son's killing of his own mother when Zeus himself had imprisoned his own father, Kronos. Apollo defends his position, arguing that the murder of a father, a king, and a military leader is a graver crime than the killing of a mother. He describes Clytemnestra's treacherous murder of Agamemnon and declares that such a deed cannot be atoned for by the typical means. Orestes, he says, was justified in his vengeance. The chorus persists in its questioning, asking how Orestes can be allowed to dwell in Argos and participate in the rituals of the community after shedding the blood of his own mother. Apollo responds that the mother is not the true parent, but rather the father is the true progenitor, using Athena as an example of a child born without a mother. Apollo further pledges that Orestes and his line will be loyal to Athena and her city, forging an everlasting alliance. Athena then addresses the judges, instructing them to deliver their just award, acknowledging that both sides have made their arguments. Athena establishes the Areopagus, a permanent council of judges sworn to uphold the law, as the court that will decide Orestes' fate. She emphasizes the importance of reverence and the rule of law, warning that without these, justice cannot be properly served. Athena then calls upon the judges to cast their votes, invoking their oath to deliver a righteous judgment. The 12 judges approach the urns of decision one by one to cast their votes. As each judge votes, the chorus and the god Apollo engage in a back-and-forth dialogue, debating the merits of the case and the authority of their respective claims. After counting the votes, the results are evenly split, and to break the tie, Athena, the goddess of wisdom, declares that she has the right to cast the final vote. She decides to side with Orestes, the defendant, reasoning that as she was not born from a mother's womb, she is more inclined to champion the male over the female. Orestes expresses his gratitude to Athena, Apollo, and Zeus for saving him from his doom. He vows that the people of Argos will never again raise their spears against Athena's city. The chorus laments the loss of their ancient rights, feeling dishonored and thrust into scorn. they threaten to unleash their wrath upon the land, vowing to spread a blight and pestilence that will ravage the earth. Athena intercedes, pleading with the chorus to be appeased and promising them a holy sanctuary within the city. The chorus continues to express their anguish and outrage at being deprived of their ancient rights. Athena reassures them that they are not dishonored, and she offers them a place of honor beside her, where they will be revered and their blessings will ensure the prosperity of the land. Athena further attempts to appease the chorus, acknowledging their greater wisdom and age. She promises that in their new role within the city, they will be held in higher esteem than anywhere else, and that their presence will bring blessings and protection to the Athenian people. The chorus of Furies agrees to Athena's offer, pledging to bless the city with their presence and to refrain from bringing any harm or discord to Athens. Athena in turn promises that the chorus will be revered and their decrees will hold sway over the lives of the people. The Furies offer a blessing upon the land of Athens, invoking protection from blight, famine, and untimely death. They also call upon the fates to grant prosperity and successful marriages to the people. Athena expresses her gratitude for the chorus's change of heart. She then declares that with the chorus's presence, Athens will be spared from civic strife and bloodshed, and instead the city will enjoy a lasting peace and harmony. The Furies offer further blessings and praises to Athens, Athena, and the other gods, expressing their joy at being welcomed and integrated into the city's sacred life. They vow to bestow their divine favor and protection upon the Athenian people. Next, Athena leads a ceremonial procession, guiding the chorus down into their appointed shrine. The women and children of Athens join the procession, carrying torches and chanting in celebration of the newfound alliance between the Furies and the city of Athens. The chant calls upon the night's childless children, the Furies, to return to their primeval lair deep within the earth, imploring them with prayers and sacrifices. The chant also asks the Furies, now with their former wrath allayed, to come with joy to their temple in the beloved land, with torchbearers and libations following in their wake. The chant invokes the blessings of Zeus and fate upon Athena's city, as the procession disappears into the depths of the cave. Very well, my friends, I trust you found my summary of the Oresteia trilogy enjoyable. Your support is crucial in helping me to create further episodes. To contribute, kindly consider becoming a member, liking, sharing, and subscribing to the channel. For those inclined to donate, secure links are provided in the description box. Thank you sincerely, and see you in the next episode.